Hey everybody, welcome to Not Up for Debate. Got Damien and Randy here, and we have our friend Eddie. Eddie is actually Randy's nephew, brother, cousin, nephew, something, right, Randy? We'll get into that later.
He's my nephew, even though you keep thinking he's my cousin, but absolutely. Eddie's probably the first guest we had on here that didn't want to be here, like, at all.
So thank you, Eddie.
I saw him do something once that was very incriminating, and he just keeps doing this stuff, so I don't turn him in. That's all it is. Just kidding. No. Welcome, man. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So you're my nephew. You're my sister's son. But you're only 5 years younger than me, so we kind of grew up more like brothers. In fact, there was a big. You used to live out of state because you lived in Idaho. I lived in California at the time, but you would come over the summers. You would spend the whole summer vacation with us, so we were basically brothers. I mean, it was a very tight bond.
Yeah, we hung out a lot.
My oldest memory of you, and I'm sure you've heard this 8 billion times, but the people haven't, was you had a poopy diaper one time.
Thanks.
And
Here we go.
Our cousin Heidi and I was babysitting Eddie. Actually, I don't think we were babysitting. I think Mom and Terry were in the kitchen cooking or something. But we were pretending to fight with Eddie, and he was loving it so much. He was laughing, and he would just fall on his butt, dude. Poop would fly everywhere, and it was just the funniest thing ever. So I don't know if that's my oldest memory, but that's definitely my favorite memory from your childhood. So it was awesome.
Yeah.
But anyways, so normally Damien will ask, but so kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, man. What do you? And you don't have to say company names if you don't want to, or you can.
I'm 39. You know, I lived in Idaho most of my life, besides going to California in the summer breaks. But I'm a multiple job person. You know, I do a little bit of everything. I'm a certified welder. I'm an engineer for trains. You know, I'm a forklift operator right now, and I own my own landscaping company. I do
Which
on the
is
side.
called
Eddie's Landscaping.
Awesome. And that's
Eddie's Landscaping.
And that's in Mountain Home?
So that's it. Yeah. Mountain Home, have you spread out to the Boise area yet? Or?
No. I thought about doing it here, but I'm pretty much just keeping it in Mountain Home for right now. I thought about maybe expanding a little bit. We'll see. Depends on if the job's good enough, you know?
Yeah, you are definitely, what's the term? Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
I mean, ever since you were a kid, man, and I've talked about you, just so you know, if you listen to the past episodes, I've brought you up a few times. Like, you're one of the most intelligent people I know. I've made the comment that I was like, you know, you can give him any engine and he could probably learn how to rebuild it, but if you hand him the manual, he might struggle a little with the manual itself, but you see the world in such a unique way. And I remember when you were, I don't know how old you were, probably about 12 or 13. I had a flat tire. Do you remember that with the truck?
Yeah, with your it was your Mighty Max? Or was it
my Mighty Max, my old Mighty Max, and I couldn't find a spare tire, dude. I thought I didn't have a spare tire, and Eddie, like, he had just gotten there to California too. In fact, we were on our way to Universal Studios, but he's like, "It's right there under your truck," and like he went underneath and grabbed the spare tire, and I don't know, but you're just anytime I need something helped with or worked on or whatever, you just you're my go-to. Obviously, you know that.
Yeah.
But
if I don't know, I always go to you. So you know, we're a team.
Yeah, I guess we kind of team up, but I feel like I use you more than you use me. Oh, I forgot to start our timer. So, anyways, you started this business, landscaping business. And then, but you also, you're a forklift operator. You don't have to say the brand name, but it's one of the
applesauce.
Let's just say if you've ever sucked applesauce out of a packet, you might have had something to do with that.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's funny. That's a good way to put it. So, what other aspects of life are you married and have kids, or?
I'm divorced and I have 3 kids. So So.
Okay, I was about to say, or one or the other. Like you don't have to. I guess you don't have to be both. You know. So you have how many kids again? Sorry.
3.
3. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. My kids. I have 4. What age range are your kids in?
My youngest is 12. I'll go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Fair enough. Cool.
The top one's looking at retirement at this point. Just kidding. No, the oldest one.
Right.
No.
I got one
She's a
in
young
college.
adult,
One in college, one getting
Yeah.
ready to go to college. So.
Wow. Okay.
Smart kids too, very very smart kids. And I think Damien, you were just going to this, but you have very. So when I was probably, I think I was 23 or something. You moved in with me in California, and at the time I was a lot more closed-minded as far as like religion and faith goes. I was very, this was how it is, and I don't really have a broader way of looking at it. But you had a very unique way of looking at life and the afterlife, kind of, or continuing life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, so they've proven that there's multiple universes, right? That of the same universe. It's just, I don't even know how to explain what they call that, but it's
parallel.
There you go. Yeah. But I believe kind of that we don't just die right away. We kind of live on in each world. But so, say you got into a car wreck yesterday in one world. This world, you're still going on until you hit a certain age or something. I don't know exactly what it is, or even if it's there. It's just, I believe you finally get to heaven at a certain time. It's just not.
So there's an end point then.
I would think so. Yeah, there's got to be. Sooner or later you do have to go to heaven or whatever. Is it
similar to reincarnation, or it's not really the same?
Reincarnation, I can yes, but no, because it's almost like, say there's 10 worlds. Okay, I don't know how many worlds there is. I'm sure there's hundreds or whatever. Say there's only 10.
Unlimited.
Yeah. Say there's only 10. All right. So all 10 are exactly the same, pretty much. But someone is born
exactly the same, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying. Well, it's got to change. Yeah. It's got to change.
Right.
Every time someone dies or gets born. But so say someone's born in all 10 worlds, your path is pretty much the same path until you die in one of them. Have you ever seen the movie The One?
No.
That's with Jet Li, right? I haven't seen it. I don't think. Or did you make me watch it? I can't remember.
I might have. It's Jason Stamos and Jet Li. It's kind of like that, but they're able to actually travel through worlds and stuff. And they're killing. Jet Li's killing his others. Or no. Yeah, I think it's Jet Li killing himself over in each world to make him stronger. I don't believe it that way, but he's different characters in that one. Like one, he was like a veterinarian or something. I can't remember, but I'm just trying to say that I believe it's a straight path until one of them gets knocked off. So in this world, you might have died yesterday, and we're going to mourn you in this world. But in the next world, you keep on going until the next point.
And it's like nothing in my mind. I don't even realize that I died yesterday in that other world.
Yeah, you don't even know nothing. Yeah.
Interesting. So I work for a communications company right now, but maybe yesterday I was a doctor.
I don't know exactly how it goes, but yeah. You could have the same exact path. For all.
How did you magically become a doctor?
Well, because he was talking about how Jet Li was a vet in one life, and then.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if it goes that way. I don't even feel it's really that way. I kind of feel, everything's exactly the same. We're doing this podcast probably in 9 of the 10 of them, but you're dead in one of them or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
I just feel like you get to a certain point and then you finally get to heaven. I don't know if you finally figure out what life means or something,
So it's kind of a little bit of a combination of a parallel universe but also almost like a kind of how, because a lot of reincarnation, there's a lot of different avenues of reincarnation. It's not just like, not everyone believes you become a beetle or a bumblebee or a desk. Some believe you return until you learn what you're supposed to learn, in life.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. And I think one time, and correct me if I'm wrong, I remember you telling me that you thought that, like, when that car crash happened that you were talking about, to you, it was almost like a close call, right? Like, oh man, I walked away from that one. But yet you flipped to another world and continued on.
Yeah.
So, but everyone else was like, oh man.
So I had my truck break down. I don't know. I want to say like June or July. All right. I was coming down the hill. I don't know if you ever been to Emmett, but it's a 5-degree angle hill coming into town. Well, my truck just happened to break down as I'm coming down this hill, so I had to pull off onto this side road piece here, and all of a sudden there was traffic stopping, and there was a car wreck. I don't know, probably right down the road. I would say probably 200 yards, and a lady died on it in a motorcycle accident. I guess they ran into a car or something. I don't know exactly what happened, but I just kind of feel like I was supposed to be in that if my truck didn't break down, because it was right there.
Kind of reminds me of, well, there was 2 accidents I was in. I'm sure you remember them, Eddie. Well, no, one wasn't an accident, but it should have been very close. I had been driving out. I don't want to say what state I was in because we don't like to promote that. But I was being really stupid, and I was trying to find one of the hot ponds out in the country here, and it was off the beaten path. Like, it was on a gravel road, and I'm driving, and all of a sudden I just get this urge to stop. My car didn't break down. I just get this urge to stop. And so I stopped, and the people in the car with me were like, "Why did you stop?" I was like, "I don't know. I just feel like I need to." And then we get out and we walk up, and you couldn't really see the road that well. It was like really rough. So that might have been part of the reason. But anyways, about, I don't know, 30, 50 yards in front of us was a cliff that just went straight down. And we were going pretty quick on this road that we weren't supposed to be going quick on. So I feel like that is kind of a similar thing. And then a week later, that's why I said 2 accidents. A week later, I was literally in a huge accident where, and Eddie just pointed my hands. I don't even know if you ever noticed, Damien, but I have, you can't really see on the camera, but so one tendon leads to all 3 of these because they had to fuse them together. Because I got in this accident with 5 other people in the vehicle. Only 2 of us had seatbelts on. We rolled, I don't know how many times, skid on the hood or the top of the car. And only person besides me that got hurt was one other female that was in the car. She got to have a few stitches in her back. Everybody else just was fine. I was life-flighted to Boise, and because we were south of Mountain Home, out in the middle of nowhere, and I remember being like, one moment I was in the ambulance, the next moment I was in the helicopter, the next moment I was at the top of the hospital being taken into the hospital. But I remember looking over, and, all these people around me, doctors. It was just like a movie.
Right.
And I remember looking over, and there was just this woman. She wasn't in scrubs. She was just like, I don't know, man. Maybe it was I was in shock, but she just had this almost extra, I don't know how to say it. Like, she was absolutely gorgeous, but almost in a ethereal way, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, almost like I don't know if she was an angel or what, dude, but it was just a weird thing. And I remember saying out loud, I was like, man, she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And she heard me and she kind of walked away. I probably just creeped her out. I don't know. She's just a normal person, probably a doctor off duty, and came in to make sure everything was all right. But I remember that kind of stands out in my mind. But those kind of remind me of what you're saying, Eddie, about like, things. It was almost like I was on a crash course because I was being really stupid at that time of my life.
Yeah.
And I don't really talk about it much, so this is like the first time I think Damien's probably even heard of it.
No, I've heard that. I've heard the rolling. I've heard the rolling story, and I know a few more details.
Yeah, there's a few details that go with it.
Yeah.
But not proud of them by any means, and I don't like to encourage anybody to act the way I was acting back then. But somehow I lived,
Right.
and it was like I was supposed to.
It was blessed.
I don't know.
You were blessed that day, for sure.
Yeah, I was very blessed. But I'd like to say that was the only stupid things I ever did, but I did other stupid things that I also somehow
made it through.
You know, and I'm not trying to add up enemies either that are listening, because I don't condone the way I acted at all. But I was,
You were young and dumb.
So those are the close calls that you're talking about, though, Eddie. Is those like maybe Randy did die in another world in that car accident?
He could have, yeah.
But and when he woke up in the ambulance, maybe it was like he's in planet number 2 or whatever.
Oh,
good point.
Yeah.
Good point. There could have been multiple steps there. I didn't even think of that.
I honestly can't tell you how it goes. I just feel there's something else. You know, I don't think you just die and go to heaven right away. You know, especially look at kids with cancer or something. You know, I don't see God doing that in every single world. Those kids could be 100% healthy in another world. You know, I don't know. I really don't know, but I want to kind of believe.
You just mentioned,
I kind of want to believe that.
You just mentioned God, and you talked to us off camera that you do look at yourself as a Christian.
I would say I'm more Christian than anything. Yeah, for sure. I do believe in heaven and hell and Jesus and God, for sure.
Okay.
There's just a little bit more to the story than we're made aware of at this point.
I like I said, I don't know. I could be way off. You know, I want to feel like there's something else out there for sure. You know, he's given us multiple chances or something. I don't know.
Did something? I'm sorry, Damien, if you had something there.
No.
Did something lead you to this idea, Eddie?
I don't remember if anything ever.
Do you remember when you started like thinking that way or thinking that way? That sounds rude. Do you remember when you started believing that? I don't know.
I don't. I really don't remember. I know it's been a long time since I started thinking of this. It's been years.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I know you were at least 18 because that's when you moved in with me, and I found out about it. And at the time, I'll be honest, like to me, it just sounded like, oh, dude, really? But I was so, like I said, I was very closed-minded when it came to religious, and I would listen to like a religious radio station, like the what do you call it, the services that they play all the time, and I was that guy. Like I was a total opposite of who I am now. Like when it comes to that type of thing. So to me, when I heard what Eddie was saying, like to me, it was just like, oh my gosh, dude, how would you believe in something like that? Fast forward 20 years or however long it's been.
Right. At least
now I've literally studied a lot. So like Eddie's, basically talking like parallel universes, but he's got his own twist. Like the whole ending with heaven, that's kind of a different than most people that, at least that I've heard. Right. But I've definitely looked a lot into the parallel universes, and that's why I was excited about this episode. I don't know if you have looked much into that, Damien.
Into parallel universes, no, because the idea of that and like quantum physics and all that, like I don't know. I always think, first of all, I think of Ant-Man. I don't know. Anyway, but like those things get real confused. And what's the other one? What's the other Avenger? Doctor Strange. Like those things get like they're really intriguing, but man, I get lost real fast when I start thinking about. I'm like, hold on, what? Like what's going on? Or like different timelines and stuff like that. I'm like, Damien's a one track mind for the most part. But I can get it for a little bit, but it's always very intriguing to me. And I was going to ask Eddie, is there I guess does heaven and the afterlife look the same to you as any other Christian might think of it?
Yeah, white white curly clouds and all that, the gate and all that. Yeah, I can definitely see that in my head for sure.
Okay.
So your heaven's in Hollywood.
Yeah. Whatever they show in the movies, kind of
exactly.
Everyone.
So you feel like that's kind of. Damien, have you ever seen Back to the Future 2?
I've seen all the Back to the Futures, but I don't know if I could follow the plot line for anything after 1.
Really?
It goes. Let's see. 2. Do they go?
That's when they're in the future.
They go in the future, and it's like 2015 or whatever.
Like 20. It was not too long ago. Like,
yeah. What was it?
I'm pretty sure it was 2015 because I remember in 2015 people were like, "This is the year."
It is because it was 1985, 1955, and 2015 because they were 30-year increments.
Okay.
So that's exactly what it was. It was 2015. Man. Look at that! We just jumped time right there.
Yeah,
because I feel like I was seeing the memes just a couple years ago too. That we were supposed to have flying cars and. But why I brought that up, Damien, was do you remember? So they had the almanac, the sports almanac.
Yes.
He was going to get it. Well, Biff stole it. Remember, and he went back to 1955 to give it to his younger self so he can become rich and famous.
Right.
Well.
Made a different timeline,
they made a different timeline, and as it went through the future, it was a totally separate timeline. So when he went back, he created spawned this new timeline, and that jumped parallel realities. So everybody on the original timeline didn't necessarily see Biff as this rich, powerful casino owner,
right?
But everybody on the second one did. So that was like kind of my first introduction to parallel realities, even though they didn't really call it that, I guess. And I doubt it went by all the rules that science has come up with now. But it was one of my most favorite movies. Like, to be honest with you, I thought it was.
Even in the first one, at the very end, his dad's all big and mighty now, a writer, and
good point.
I love that.
Biff's a goofy guy,
feels redeeming. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So you got. And I know there was actually not controversy back in the days, but modern controversy. Like, well, why just because he got confidence now he's like a successful writer, and his wife's more healthier looking and whatever. But
I think that tracks, though. I think that makes sense.
I did,
but they live in the same house, which is funny. Right, but they live in the same house. They're rich now, but they live still in the cheap house.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, why are they in the same house? Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good point.
So the interesting thing to me though is when they went back to 1985, but it was the parallel universe. All hell had broken loose at that point, right? The world had shifted.
Yeah.
It was no longer the normal 1985. It was this darker, grittier 1985. And I swear, dude, something like that it seemed to happen. Like, I don't know, but it feels like our world definitely shifted at some point.
And people's even saying stuff like, something happened in a movie or someone said something certain in a movie. And
the Mandela effect.
Yeah, it's totally different,
Yep, Mandela. Yep.
Yeah, I definitely looked into that. And, some of it seems kind of fake. Before we move on to the Mandela effect, though, the one thing that kind of, to me, it seemed like the Mayans had it right, dude. Like, it seems like 2012 didn't end the world, but it almost ended the world that we were on. Or you know what I'm saying? Because that was about the time I felt like things started shifting a little bit.
That world could have died for all we know.
Yeah.
End
of an
era. That's
very true.
Yeah.
We don't know. We were still.
Yeah, with your belief system, if that were right, the world could have absolutely ended, and we just were completely unfazed by it because we all died at the same time. So it's like we're just here on planet number 2 or whatever number. I just keep numbering the planets, but they don't have names.
Yeah.
they don't have names. They have numbers.
Right.
I actually wanted to ask you this: Are you? And there's a purpose behind this question. Are you a reader? Read very much.
I really am not. Okay. I am like I'm actually dyslexic, so
okay.
reading is like way off for
Okay.
me.
Well, there's this.
Which is why I made the comment earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, about the okay, fair enough. About the
Yeah.
like reading instruction manuals and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a series called the Marbury Lens. It's only is it a series if it's only 2 books? Anyway, and it's a
Miniseries.
miniseries. Yeah, it actually drives me nuts. Just going on a rant real quick. I hate reading books that are like only 1 or 2. I want an entire series because like if you're gonna like make me really love the characters within 1 or 2 books and then just kill them off or not kill them off, but like then all of a sudden there's no more. I'm like, damn it! Like I just wasted my time falling in love with these characters or whatever. Anyway, that was sorry. So screw you, Andrew. Whatever the author's name is. But anyway, this series it's a fictional. Well, it's probably considered young adult, but I probably wouldn't want my like a teenager reading it. I don't have teenagers, but anyway, fictional story about basically about this 17-year-old kid or 16 or whatever. He gets like kidnapped at one point and like almost gets raped or whatever, and then he ends up getting like these glasses from some stranger later. Anyway, and when he puts on these glasses, he's like sucked into a different world called Marbury. But he's like, but he like the first time he does it, the first time he puts the glasses on, he's like thrown into this world, and he's like, "What the f***'s going on?" Like he's, excuse me, might want to edit that one out. But please do edit that. He's like, "What?" That's basically what he says. What the? He's in the middle of a battlefield, but he's like, or in the middle of like a war zone. But he's like, the war zone is like between like him and like his human friend teenage friends, and like these like different like monsters and like giant bugs and creatures and stuff like that. And so anyway, every time he'll go back to like he eventually takes the goggles off, he goes back to Earth, and he's missed a few days on Earth, and then he'll like stay on Earth for a day or like, but he ends up like getting addicted to going back and forth to it's almost like being on drugs or something. Anyway, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I don't know for sure, but that's kind of what I kept imagining in my head. I'm like, disclaimer. No, but it kind of reminds me of parallel universes, and it kind of made me when Randy brought up your belief system. It kind of made me think of that a little bit. I know it's not exactly the same, but that story might be. If you were interested in books or even the audio or whatever. That might be one that you might find interesting, but it's also fiction. And
I know there's another one out there too about these kids moving into a house, and there's a mirror in the house, and they can go through the mirror.
Oh, interesting.
Which ironically, both of those sound like Narnia, right?
Yeah,
like,
I was about to say Narnia. Yeah. That one reminded me of Narnia.
Go through the wardrobe.
Yeah. I think Marbury is a lot. It's a lot. What is it? Not rated G. Well, I don't know. You would rate books, but it's like
right, a little more explicit.
Yeah. Well,
I think this is like a rated R movie as well.
Okay.
I think they actually like kill them their other selves.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah. If you die in Marbury Lens, if you die in Marbury, you're done. Like you don't get to go back. So that's an interesting. Anyway.
So speaking of mirrors, Eddie and I both have worked on feature films. They're low budget, but they're feature films, full length movies.
Cool. I knew Randy did that. I didn't know you did that, Eddie.
Yeah. Well, once again, I dragged him kicking and screaming, but he definitely came along. In fact, he plays a bird in Ghost of a Chance. So at the beginning of the movie, you hear birds. That's Eddie. He does this bird call.
That's awesome. Is that real? For real?
Yeah.
I think they sound. I don't know how it'll sound with his headphones, but
can we do it now?
I don't know if you want to give us.
Do you want to do it?
I don't know if I can do it on command.
No worries.
You can do it. Dude, it was hilarious, man. We were at Disneyland and we were on the small world ride, and Eddie, it was like a nervous tick for him back when he was younger. So he didn't even realize he was doing it, right? Like he would just do it. Kind of like, people make noises or whatever. And this guy was like, where the F is that bird? I can't. No, it was just like
I do it like Walmart too. You know, and
them.
people are looking up above them. So
it was hilarious, man. But so anyway, going back to the mirrors. So Eddie and I have worked on a few different movie projects. However, only 2 movies that we've actually made full-length movies. But we've done little short films.
Oh, we've been making videos since I can remember.
Yeah, since you were
with Rocky
very young, right? But there was one movie that Eddie and I really sat down to work on, a movie called Mirrors, and it was about parallel universes. It was about like these people coming in from the mirrors, and like it was like a horror film. So they would come in and they would haunt. You know, they would haunt this family of this house they moved into with all these mirrors. Well, fast forward like 5 years, and all of a sudden there's this Hollywood movie called Mirrors or something like that. It was like our plot line,
yeah, they stole it. Yeah,
and we sat down for quite a while. We didn't write a script, but we definitely had a treatment, and I think that's what it was called, was Mirrors.
Interesting.
Movie.
Sounds like something I'd be interested in watching. Randy, when you were talking about Eddie making and that guy being like, "Where the hell is that bird coming from?" It reminded me of This is really stupid to bring up, but I'm watching the show Modern Family. Have you guys seen that or heard of that?
I used to watch like the first season, but it's been a long time.
I think it's in season 2, and I don't remember the Hispanic wife, Sophia. I don't know her actual.
Oh, Sophia Garza, something like that.
I don't know. Anyway, the Hispanic wife that's like pretty dramatic over the top sometimes. Jay's wife, I forget her freaking name. Anyway. So they're like complaining to the neighbor about his dog noise, like his dog making too much noise, and he's like, I don't know why you guys are complaining about this dog when you got that goddamn parrot going all the time, and they're like, what parrot? Like they were like, what parrot? And then they like show a bunch of flashbacks of the wife yelling, Jay, like it's so stupid. It's so dumb. Anyway, sorry. I know that we're completely off topic now, but
it was Sofia Vergara.
Is that how you say Vergara? Okay.
Vergara, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. I've never seen that episode though.
That's funny crap. I'll have to send you a clip. I'm pretty sure there's like a clip of that particular scene on YouTube before.
Oh yeah, you got it. I think so.
But anyway.
So anyways, we need to take a break. But when we come back, we're going to continue on with different parallel stuff. I have a bunch of stuff myself that I want to talk to you about. Yeah. Oh, hey. Just gave us seasickness. Anyways.
I got to flip my phone.
Yeah. Hang tight, guys, and we'll be right back. Hey, can you put the camera up a little bit? We don't want people to see that. I'm just kidding.
I was trying to flip it upside down so I can charge my phone.
Oh, gotcha. All right, we'll be right back, guys.
Hey Randy, have you ever had crack and cheese?
Well, I've had one of those. I'll let you guess which one.
Combine them, man. Just like Satisfied Food Truck did to create their delicious crack and cheese dinner. It's a handcrafted 3-cheese macaroni with buttery panko, or what they call a hood rat crumble, on top. I love the hood rat crumble.
Oh man, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, chasing it down with their Gingosaurus punch is the next step to a perfect dinner. And if you don't go for the crack and cheese, then go for the basic bird slider. I love me a good mini burger.
I mean, why not get both?
Exactly. Order the whole food truck.
How do I find them?
They're in the San Antonio area. Look up Satisfied on Facebook or at satisfied.sa on Instagram. Also, they do catering. Visit their catering website at enzosce.com. That's ENZOSCE.com.
Awesome. I'll tell them Damien sent me.
Andy, you remember how excited I was when I bought my house here in San Antonio?
Oh, yeah, man. You were pretty excited.
You know the one thing I didn't like?
That you were 2,000 miles away from the blue field?
The fence, Randy. The fence.
Oh.
Yeah, it was one windstorm from blowing over. That is until I was introduced to Van and Sons Fencing. Mark was able to meet with me right away and give me free quotes on different variations of how to build our fence. I eventually went with cedar pickets, treated 2x4s, and metal posts that were able to withstand winds of 120 miles per hour.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And you need that with the storms you get down there.
Right? And a year later, I'm still happy with the beautiful sturdy fence and the 2 gates that Van and Sons built for us. Mark, the owner, is actually a neighbor of mine, and he's done several fences in our neighborhood, and I can tell that they have integrity with each job. They don't cut corners, and they offer fair prices. They'll price match other reputable fence companies, too.
Well, if I get my act together and actually move to San Antonio, I'll have to hit up Van and Sons Fencing.
Hey, everybody,
are they
welcome
on
back.
social
Thanks
media?
for going on that break for Check out Van and Sons Fencing on Facebook. They have plenty of great pictures of their craftsmanship. And when you're ready, you can message them directly on Messenger or call or text Mark directly at 210-944-9238. Oh, and remember, fences make great neighbors. For those who missed it, Eddie is Randy's nephew, cousin, brother, sister thing. But
something.
I didn't just kidding. I wanted to give a backstory on why I've said that. Why I've said that twice now. When I think seriously, it's probably been like 10 times we've been scheduling Eddie to come on the show, and every time I'll ask Randy like a different relative. I'll be like, hey, so is your cousin ready to come on? Hey, is your brother ready to come on?
Is your dad coming on or what?
And every time Randy's been like, dude, it's my nephew. It's my nephew. But like seriously, probably 10 times he had to.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
And he's like, hey, do you think you can remember that this is my nephew? So I probably went through the whole list of like male relatives that I so dumb. I'm gonna have a relative on here someday, and Randy's gonna be like, do the same exact thing as me.
Yeah. I'm actually bad, man. Like I could probably meet a relative of yours that I've already met, and I'd be like, "Hey, I'm Randy. Nice to meet you." And they're like, "Yeah, I know. We already met." So
we just had dinner yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. I
met my mom a couple times though, Randy. I don't think
your mom. I know for sure. Your mom.
For
sure. She's there. She's stuck in there. I met your, I think, dad or something, but I don't remember. And I think your sister I also met. But if I was to see them in Walmart, I wouldn't know them. But if I saw your mom in Walmart, I definitely would know her because I've met her a few times.
I'd probably remember your dad for sure. But he's the only one that.
Right.
Anyway,
I actually have looked into parallel universes a lot. I find them very intriguing. I don't know if I believe 100%, but I definitely believe probably 50%, if you can do that. So there is a lady by the name of Amy Westmoreland. She's got her own YouTube channel. Is the only reason why I feel comfortable saying her name. I don't know what you would call it. Her YouTube channel. There you go. Is called something Joy. Hold on, let me. Illuminating Joy. So, she has a very, very unique also way of looking at things, but it's it's probably not unique because I know one of her mentors was Neville Goddard, who I brought up in a previous episode with Ashley, actually, when we interviewed her.
That sounds familiar.
But that's exactly what she looks at. Everything's a different state. So your decision you make brings a different state, but she mixes it with like the law of attraction. So in her view, let's just say you are in a contest. You are trying to be the best hacky sack whatever person to hold it the longest, right? And you're in this contest with 200 people. Well, you can attract you becoming the winner of this if you believe about this, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the other people are losers in their own world. Like they might have won in their own world. They might have, so at you guys will diverge at that point, and what's really interesting. So she has this viewpoint, and then another another YouTube channel, Joseph Ally. Both of them are students, kind of students, because he's been long dead, but his name was Neville Goddard, and that's who I brought up before. And he was a student of, I forgot his mentor's name, but he was a follower of, and I brought this up before, the Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah. So he was a follower of Kabbalah. Kabbalah, from the little bit I understand about Kabbalah, is the Bible is symbolic. And we're talking about the original, the Old Testament Bible, the original with Adam and Eve and all that. So like the first 5 books, I think, is the Jewish, there's a name for it. Anyways, so that was like the Jewish, one of their major like scriptures, right? Their major beliefs. But anyway, so all these stories are symbolic. And there was one I was trying to explain to you and Ashley, Damien. I was telling you about how one of the stories in the Bible was about the guy wanted to give a blessing to one of his sons. And one of the sons was a very hairy person, the one he wanted to give the blessing to. The other one wasn't. So the non-hairy one dressed up in animal skin. So he fooled his dad because his dad was blind. I left that part out. When his dad reached out to touch him, he felt the animal skin, thought it was his hairy brother, and he blessed him. And even though he found out it was false later on, he had already blessed him. So that was it. Like, even though he was fooled and he knew he got fooled, his son he did it with, got the blessing. And this was a symbolic teaching, and like your desire you wanted was the kid that fooled his dad, and the hairy kid, the original one, was the world was the way it was. So when his dad blessed him, he brought the other one into reality. So according to him, almost all the teachings in the Bible were symbolic in the ways of the world, and he said in the Eastern world they teach in a lot of symbolic ways, which makes sense because when you look at the way Jesus taught, he always taught in metaphors. They were in stories; they weren't always straightforward. So, anyways, I really should have done research on one of these stories so I can actually tell you a little bit better than my butchering of it.
Was it Abraham or
the one that had the two sons? Okay,
Patty would know.
blessed.
My wife would know right off the bat.
Oh, really?
That story before, yeah.
That Patty's, his wife. Blessed his son in the Bible.
What do you think about that, Eddie? While Randy's looking that up, is the Bible more symbolic or is it more literal, or what do you think?
Honest, I couldn't even tell you. I haven't even touched the Bible in forever. So I don't go to church. I don't believe I have to go to God's house to relate with God. God's everywhere. I don't know. I just don't feel like I have to go, so I don't.
Yeah, that's fair.
Do you pray, Eddie?
I do. I don't pray all the time, but yeah, every once in a while I just thank God and for me being who I am, healthy, and I'm not healthy. I'm starting to get older and start to break down.
I don't want to hear that. I'm 5 years older than you.
But I'm starting to break down a little bit. But I've worked hard. I've worked a lot of, like I said earlier, I worked a lot of jobs. I've done so many different things. But
one you left out that's very intriguing was you were an engineer, a train engineer.
No, I think I said
that. He said that.
Oh,
yeah,
you did say that. Okay.
Yeah, that actually caught my attention too. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
I've actually been on the train with them. It was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, we only went about 30 feet at a time, but it was cool. So it was Jacob, by the way. So Jacob went close to his father Isaac. It was Genesis.
I was thinking Abraham and Isaac, and then if I would have said Isaac, It probably maybe that would have triggered your.
No, it wouldn't have. Not even a little.
Okay.
But Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." I don't know. He did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau. So he blessed him. "Are you really my son Esau?" He said, "I am," he replied. But anyways, that's the actual verse out of the Bible, not the interpretation.
I actually have a cross from Randy's mom, my grandma, that I still have today. I don't wear it anymore because it's just so brittle. But yeah, that was one of my biggest things I wanted, and she got it for me when I was.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I remember that, and I was actually going to bring that up.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, though. If you guys ever just are curious, and this is for any listeners too, check out Neville Goddard. I'm sure YouTube is full of his little teachings. They're usually very short, but he has a unique way of looking at things. And when some of like that story I was talking about, you kind of like, yeah, how could that have been like literal? You know, how could he be fooled by his son dressing up in animal skin?
Yeah, anybody else would be like, "What the hell? Get out of here!" You know, like you could tell easily. You know, or and not only that, but we could also like reject the blessing because it's we could take it back or whatever. You know?
Right? Yeah, you fooled. So, and maybe that had to do with the Jewish tradition. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it just seems like he'd have been like, "Yeah, your fur's a little thick for your for your normal self, you know."
Time to shave again.
Exactly.
Yeah, but then when you hear it, the way Neville Goddard says it, you're like, huh? And I mean, literally, guys, there's just like hundreds of different. Like that's just the one that stayed in my head for some reason. I think because it was so outlandish. But he has so many different, and he does even the New Testament too, where I think the original, like I said, Kabbalah taught mainly from the Old Testament books. But what's interesting about the Kabbalah, the little bit I understand, is they have these levels, right? So the big level is God, right? God is the top of everything. And then under that, it was like connected subconscious minds. And underneath that was like individual subconscious mind. And then underneath that was like individual conscious minds. And these are the levels. So we're all connected together. And so there again, I'm probably butchering it. And that one, I can put a graphic up on our website. So if you go to our website and click on the as mentioned page, I'll have a screenshot of that or a picture of that people can see what I'm talking about. And I have bought a couple books on Kabbalah, and I've kind of looked into it, but it's a lot. It's not just like it's a full on teaching. It's a major thing where the Neville Goddard is kind of like, well, this is what I'm talking about, so this is what I teach. Like it's more, I don't want to say he shapes the stories to fit his agenda, but maybe he does. But some of them are just really interesting. You're like, yeah, man, I don't know how that could have not been that symbolic way of teaching. So, but then when I do, there are things. So anyways, I started all this. I know I'm talking about Amy Westmoreland a lot. The one thing she said that kind of resonates with me is she said, you'll know when a world has changed, like when you've shifted parallel realities, because something that you are very used to, it could be in McDonald's, it could be in your house, it could be anywhere, will be completely different. And you will know it's different, but you will ask whoever it is that works there, or your girlfriend or your wife or whatever, like, no, it's always been that way. But you're like, has it? Like, I feel like I look at that every day and it's this way. And then all of a sudden,
my world has ever shifted then, because I can't think of a specific.
You can't think of a, yeah.
Kelly was just telling me about one that night we had Five Guys the other night. Because we were talking about it, and I was telling her how I was coming on here and why I was coming on here. And she told me one. I don't want to tell her story, so I won't tell it. But yeah, she literally just told me about one of those. Yeah.
Get us all excited about it.
Yeah. I
If
ain't
it's
gonna
personal,
let someone
I
else.
understand.
Yeah, I ain't gonna let someone else's story come out. You know, I'll let her explain it one day
Yeah.
if she wants
Yeah, we
to.
can
It
respect
happens to
that.
me all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just be honest. And I don't know if it's my own memory failing me or literally, something's happened. So I don't know. Just stupid things. Like, one, it's in Albertson. So here in Mountain Home, Albertsons was kind of an afterthought. It wasn't the original store. The original store was a smaller store that became Albertsons later on. And because of that, there's been a lot of growth in this limited space. So the parking lot is an island. So there's only so many spots available. Well, all of a sudden, I mean, I go there all the time because I do door dashing and then I also do real estate. Well, all of a sudden, where there used to be a path to get from one side of the parking lot to another was now parking spots. But then a couple spots over, there was a path that was on top of old parking spots, but which is makes sense because well, maybe they changed it, but the paint that was this path looked as old as the parking spots, and I'm like, I don't recall them ever painting this, and I'm here all the time. I use that little path that cuts through. Eddie's saying, yeah, because he used to live here like most of his life, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know if you've even looked at them lately, like to see what I'm talking about, Eddie, but
I haven't been over there for a minute. Yeah.
it's different, but it's just weird. And then like 2 days later, it was a different spot, and I'm like, okay, either I'm going nuts or something's happening here. But I've been in restaurants or I've been in places where I'm just like, dude, I swear that was different. So earlier though, you guys brought up, one of you, I don't know if it's Eddie or Damien, but I think it was Eddie, brought up the Mandela effect. And I know a lot of people know about it, but those who don't, there was a big group of believers who believed that Nelson Mandela died in prison before he became the president, I believe he was, of South Africa. I had a teacher that was obsessed with Nelson Mandela when I was growing up, or when I was in junior high, and I almost felt like I was part of that group that remembers him dying. But it might have been just because he talked about him a lot, so he was on my mind. But there's different things like the whole Berenstein Bears. These are the most popular ones. Damien, have you looked into Mandela effect at all?
And I know Berenstein Bears is like the one that I think of all the time.
Yeah.
I always think of the Forrest Gump one. Life is like a box of chocolates.
Right, where it was life was like a box of chocolates. So some of the stuff that they do, like I'm like, it's just marketing. Like Fruit Loops isn't spelt fruit. It's because it's not real fruit, so they couldn't put Fruit Loops on the box. And there's a couple of
bananas and apples in your cereal now, like the actual ones.
Well, because if you put Fruit Loops, like it would have to be real fruit, right? Like otherwise, it's There's a few though that I do kind of think, I could have swore, like the Ford symbol. There's a little pigtail on the Ford symbol that just doesn't look real. The one that really kind of bugged me was there was a teaching about when Damien, I don't know, most of you might both remember, but the lion will lie down with the what? Does that ring a bell?
The lamb.
Okay. So what does it say? The lion will lie down. The wolf shall live with the lamb. The leopard shall lie down with the kid. The calf and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. Is the actual verse, I guess. Jesus, the lion and the lamb, will follow Revelation's purpose. The lion and the... But anyways, it's not supposed to be in there now. And like I've watched videos of pastors were like, no, I've taught that in church about the lion will lie down with the lamb. Both of you guys said the lamb, but supposedly there's no teaching on it. Jesus, purpose of truth. So that one was kind of intriguing. but it also could have been something, the way society tends to twist things, and then it gets passed on and passed on and passed on. So we don't even
like the phone effect when you like they had you doing
telephone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if I believe it, but the theory is that those are from a parallel universe. So you're remembering those things because now a lot of them believe that we were all on the same universe, and then we all shifted to this alternative one together. Where, and that could be, they think it has something to do with CERN. Do you know what CERN is?
I don't.
Yeah, CERN is the where they were trying to find the Higgs boson. It's
I don't know what that is.
yeah. We'll so basically they were trying. It's a particle accelerator, and they smash particles together really fast.
Oh, yeah.
It was on the movie Angels and Demons. Did you guys see the second Da Vinci Code? Come on, because you're going to have to watch movies. It's good.
I do know what you're talking about now. Yeah, how the particles are moving at speed of light, and they're trying to
and
have them smash into each other.
They're basically trying to create a black hole. Is from what I understand, is what they're trying to do. I don't know if that's the truth, but that's what I've heard they're trying to do. Huh. Well, anyways, so there's a lot of people who believe that it's the CERN that's caused us to go on to a different parallel universe. But I don't know. I think that's maybe just a really intriguing story. Like, if parallel universe is real, I think they're real for us all the time, not just because CERN smashed a couple particles together and we all shifted at one time. But maybe it is. But one of the scientists at CERN kind of played into it, and I think he had like a sign or something that made it look like they did it on purpose just to kind of mess with people. Or maybe they really did. I don't know. I don't know. I like your way of looking at it, Eddie, though. I like how you're like, you get all these tracks, that you can shift from one to the other. But then when you're dead, when you get older and, the family gathers around
when it's
you.
Your time, yeah. When it's your time, it's your time. But I just don't know what that time is,
Yeah. The thought that pops in my head, though, is if they're all starting at the beginning, and this isn't a debate, man, I'm just letting you know what comes to my head. But if they all started, say, at a similar place, they start at the hospital, you exiting your mother, eventually from all the different shifts, life. I didn't know how
life's going to be different. Yeah.
You being delivered. It just seems like by the end, they probably would be pretty different.
Yeah.
So that's where, according to Amy Westmoreland that I was talking about, to her, it's unlimited. Like there's infinite parallel worlds and universes, and some of them, you're done very well in, and some you just, you're a 45-year-old man that hasn't been married yet, and he's on a podcast on Tuesday night, but my point is so there's different worlds, and you might not even like if you were to meet some of the other yous, you might not even like them because they chose different paths very early on.
I barely like this one,
Yeah, exactly. I brought it up in one of the previous episodes, Eddie, but did you ever see the Futurama where Fry... Did you ever watch Futurama?
I watched some of them. I'm not as big into it as Grandpa is, but...
Okay. Where Fry becomes his own grandpa. So there's a grandpa paradox, right? Like if you were to go back and shoot your own grandpa, it couldn't happen because your grandpa would be dead, so therefore you couldn't have gave life to your father, who couldn't have gave life to you. Well, in Futurama, they address this. he went back. So he was trying to preserve his grandpa, right? So he's at the Roswell. The Roswell crash, in New Mexico was Futurama. Like that was their ship. And so his grandpa was stationed there. So he's like trying to protect his grandpa because he's like, you gotta give birth to my dad so he can give birth to me, whatever. So he's like everything, there could be like this car was like half a mile down the road. He's like, oh, like we gotta get you out of the road. Anyways, he takes his grandpa to this like remote house, like out in the middle of nowhere to protect him. Well, it turns out it was a nuclear bomb test site. So he blows his grandpa up, right? He leaves. He left his grandpa there. But anyways, his grandpa blows up. So spoilers, sorry, anyone who hasn't watched the episode. He leaves and he goes to console his grandma. Well, his grandma is attracted to him. And he's like, well, so his grandma's trying to get a little something. He's like, well, it can't be my grandma then if I'm still here. So he goes along with it. And then impregnates his, Anyways.
Oh my God.
So he's his own grandpa. So that's how they address the grandpa paradox.
Oh my God.
Anyways.
That's tough, dude.
I know. Anyway, so I just thought that was really funny. So you guys need to definitely check that one out.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
I need to check out all these. I need to like take a list of all these movies that we end up talking about in shows on that we talk about on the podcast, and I'd probably have like a whole year of movies to watch.
Probably. But that being said, I know I've kind of did a cluster on this show, and I apologize, and I appreciate you guys being good sports along with it.
I appreciate you coming on, Eddie.
Yeah, no problem.
But I really feel like, I don't know, I feel like there might be something to this. Oh, and then do you remember, Eddie, when I was younger, I had the teeth, the vampire teeth up above my canines? No, you don't remember.
They're above the gum?
Yeah, they're above the gum.
Okay.
Grandma, my mom, Grandma saw them one day. I was in third grade. I said this story already, so people who've listened to that episode have already heard it. But anyways, she saw them one day and she freaked out, and she's like, "You got to get those pulled out." Like, it was weird, dude. Like, she was really adamant about me getting them pulled out. I didn't want to go to the dentist. I was scared of dentists then. I'm scared of dentists now, but I was really scared of them then. So I'm praying about it, dude. I don't want to go, please help, whatever. I wake up I swear this is a true story. Wake up the morning of the dentist appointment. Those teeth are gone. And I attribute it to God. I prayed about it, but I've always also thought, what if that was a parallel universe? Not always thought. Since I've been listening to Amy Westmoreland, I always thought, oh, maybe that could have been a parallel universe shift too. I don't know. There might have been a Randy that went through that. Yeah. So, anyways, man, is there anything else that you kind of wanted to go over about any of that, or?
No, like I said, I just believe that there's got to be. I don't believe that God would just do certain things. I think he's got to let you get to your path, but he's given you the chance to get there. I don't know.
So, no matter what, you're going to end up at point B, but I'm going to let you figure out how to get to point B.
Yeah.
I can see that. Like, you're trying to teach your kid how to do something, and, you're going to learn this math, but I'm going to give you the chance to figure it out on your own, however many tries it takes.
I know you're going to screw up, but I know you'll get there,
Yeah.
And I had a question real quick, Eddie. I know it's like a unique kind of belief. Do you know anybody else that has a similar belief? Like, there's not like a group that you belong to or anything like that, right?
No. If there is a group, I don't know about it.
I bet there is, man. Well, at least something similar.
Yeah, who knows?
You can find anything on social media right now. But I meant like one that's
especially these days.
Yeah. Anyway,
there might be another one of you. I've also had where I have gone to places and people were like, "Hey, welcome back." I'm like, "Welcome back," and they're like, "Weren't you here like an hour ago?" I was like, "No, in fact, one of my ex-girlfriends, Jamie, that's how we started talking. Was she swore I was already there that day? She's like, "You just left." I was like, "Nope, just got your name, but it might have just been mistaken identity." But recently, someone was talking. Now, I was in Boise. I live in Mountain Home, but I was in Boise that day. I was in Southeast Boise. I had a beer, and I actually posted about that beer.
Well, while you're doing that, I kind of feel like, maybe your dreams could be the other worlds. You're. I don't know. I really don't know. It's just.
And you're like living it out in another world.
Maybe you're just on their channel,
right.
barely a little bit, and you're just watching what they're doing or something. I don't know.
Kind of like checking in the Marbury lens, kind of going into the other universe or whatever. But interesting.
Have you guys had lucid dreams? Do you know what that is?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know what that is, Eddie?
Not really.
Lucid dream is where you are dreaming and then you realize you're dreaming and you're able to operate on the rules of the dream, but you're conscious of it, semi? Have you ever had that?
Never. No. Yeah. No.
I've only had it a few times. The one time was really cool. In the dream, I had the power of flight, but not like Superman where I flew like, way above. It was like I could fly like 10 feet above the earth type flight. And I realized I was dreaming, and I knew I didn't want to wake up because I was like, oh, this is a unique opportunity. So I was able to kind of stay in that dream for a little bit, not long, a minute or two, where I could fly around, and it was so cool. So that was one experience. And the second experience that's notable was I had a dream. This one was kind of spooky, and I'm sure I've told both of you this story before, but I'll say it again anyways. But I had a dream that I was in a car accident. I was driving by the golf course here in Mountain Home. I'm going up 18th Street, and all of a sudden, I'm not in the car. It was me and Dad. I'm not in the car. I'm floating on the outside of the car, looking at the car from a third-person point of view, and the car rolls over and crashes, right? It crashes into this front yard of one of the houses there on 18th Street. At this point, I realize I'm dreaming. And so we're walking up. Me and Dad are walking up. We're walking up the driveway of this house, and there's a group of people in the front of the house having a barbecue. And I tell Dad, because I realize that they're fake, but I don't realize that Dad's fake. I don't know, for whatever reason. I don't realize he's the dream. So I'm only semi-conscious, I guess. But I tell Dad, I was like, they don't even realize that they're in my dream, that they're not even really here. And the guy turns around, looks at me like I'm the biggest idiot in the world, and then goes back to barbecuing. And then after that, I woke up. But it was so real, like just weird. And we were going on their property to pick up the car. Like that was our goal, was we were going to pull the car off the yard, even though it just rolled. So on my Facebook, there's a post from one of my friends. I won't say her name on here, but I had posted. I was at a bar in Southeast Boise, and I just actually wasn't in a bar. It was a sushi place that happened to sell beer. I went in there for one beer. And I posted it because it was really cool. It was a really cool microbrewery, and I posted this picture of a beer. Well, it was like, oh, is that where you went after you left Dave and But I just said her name. So, anyways, my friend was like, oh, is that where you went after you left Dave and Buster's? I was like, I didn't go to Dave and Buster's. She's like, I just saw you like a half hour ago or something. You were at Dave and Buster's. I was like, oh. Did we talk? And she's like, no, I didn't want to bother you, I was like, well, you should have went over and said hi because it wasn't me. But anyways, she was like, I swear it was you. This was all on Facebook. It's all a post. That's why I'm trying so hard because I want to read it to you guys. But yeah, I think it was on my real estate page. That's where I'm looking right now because I think I posted on there to try to just stir up some attention for that. But anyways, like she was very adamant that she had seen me at Dave and Buster's, and I've had that a few times. Now I've heard there's doppelgangers or whatever, people that look just like you, and it very much could have been that. But I'm not. I kind of stand out a little bit. I'm a bigger than most individuals that are out there. So, anyways, yeah. So I agree, Eddie. I don't know if the dreams are the parallel. Maybe they are, but there was a teaching from KRS-One. If you go on YouTube, KRS-One was a rapper back in the 90s or late 80s, and he was part of, I don't know if it was the Masons or one of those groups, but he was saying that the song "Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, 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 life is but a dream" was actually a teaching song back in the days that life is a dream. So, I mean, it could just be him saying that, but he was saying that that's what we were taught. And then I told Damien and one of our guests went on the show, and people always ask, if I ask people how they're doing, they say they're living the dream. I always ask them, is it my dream or your dream? Like, whose fault is it that, we're having this now?
That's why I always say it a little bit different. I'm always like, yeah, just living the dream. I don't know whose dream it is, but it's not mine.
Yeah.
And then
Same basic rules apply on that. Yeah. But it is definitely intriguing. And one of the things that I've also really thought of, man, and this is something I'm very, very, I think that I do believe that it'll be this way, is I believe that the afterlife is like a dream, man. I don't believe it's a physical, hard brimstone place or, earth place. I think it's a spiritual place or maybe a dreamlike place, because when you're in a dream, that stuff is real to you. That lady that doesn't have a body, she's just got a head, is real. She's tangible, right? Whatever, that it's all very real. You accept it as real. So to me, it just makes sense. Why couldn't the afterlife be in a dream type? Like, I don't think it'd be a dream like a random. I think it would be more structured, but it wouldn't be a physical location. And we might not even be in a physical location where we're at, Science tells us that most of matter is empty space, right? Like it's almost all energy, empty energy. So, which makes sense on the whole parallel universes to me. However, I am rambling. I know we need to get going. I literally could talk about this stuff all weekend. Like I love this topic.
Right.
I don't know if I believe it 100%, but I definitely know I'm very intrigued, and I wouldn't be shocked.
For me.
Like reincarnation, which could be just another form of parallel universes.
What we're talking about. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just so intriguing. And like I said, I don't know if I believe it, but if it was it, wouldn't shock me a little bit. Not even a, it'd be like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense that it's that. So, anyways, Eddie, is anything else you want to go over, man? Damien?
No, I'm good.
Yep. I appreciate you coming on, Eddie. I know.
Yeah, thank
absolutely.
you.
We had to like. I shouldn't say that we had to drag you kicking and screaming. I appreciate you being open to coming on to the show.
I definitely did.
Well, thanks for doing that, Randy.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up. But again, thanks, Eddie, for coming on to the show, and thanks for those who have listened so far and hung in there with us. I know parallel universes can kind of get funky, but now we have recommendations for shows. Back to the Future, The One, right? Maybe Reading the Marbury Lens. But so anyway, those are all interesting concepts. But if you want to become part of the show, email us at contact@notupfordebate, or visit our website at notupfordebate.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And please like and subscribe on YouTube. And we'll see you guys later. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.